Hello and welcome to another week of Sambo iRacing. It's season 4, week 3. We're in the Formula V at Virginia International Raceway, and it is the full layout that we've got here. So this is the first time it's been run in officials. It's a fantastic track. There's plenty of tricky bits and plenty of places to pass. Without further ado, let's jump into the cockpit, followed by a chase cam, and then back in the cockpit with the driving line. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so we're moving across from the right-hand side over towards the left, and we're looking for the between the 1 and the arrow marker. So just as I'm coming up, just as I pass the 1, you'll see that I start on the brake up to about 70%, trail it off down to the apex. Now, we're wanting to hug this tight all the way around. You'll see that only now, as I've completely come off the brake, do I engage the clutch, hit it down into third, and then go back on. So people keep asking me why I don't sort of blip the throttle as I'm braking. It's because I don't change down in the V until I'm ready to come back on the throttle. So I don't need to do any sort of matching of revs or anything like that. The V does not respond well to engine braking. Just always make sure that your change down happens when you're about to come back on the throttle. That's something that I found very difficult to get my head around for the first sort of 6 months of being in the V. As soon as I started doing it, I found that I was spinning a lot less, locking up my tires a lot less in terms of dropping down, and it did add an awful lot of speed for me. So, quick tip there. So, we're trying to hold this corner as far around to the right-hand side as possible, and we're wanting to stay over to the right. We don't want to be cutting this next corner and going right over the apex, and you'll see why. It's because we want to take a wide entry into the following corner, corner 3. So we don't want to be over on the left-hand side here. We're taking a nice wide entry. Everyone else, you'll notice in the race, is probably hugging round on the inside, left of where you'll be. And then what we're looking to do here is if you see here, as we cross over and the sort of the tarmac changes from the outside to the inside, just before the yellow and green, what I do is I do a full lift down to about 16%. So it feels like you're coming off it. And what I'm looking to do is just do the lift and then make sure that I'm going to turn the corner and get fully back on the throttle. So a lot of people will brake here. You don't need to. And make sure that you are using the full width that you're given here. There's no off track. So do that. And then, right, as we're coming up to turn 4, it's quite a tricky little turn, up to about 40%, well ahead of the corner. Trail it off, and then you're wanting to get on the throttle nice and early. So this is one of the most, probably the second most, or the most important turn in the entire lap. And that's because we've got a really, really long straight coming on afterwards. So once I'm back on the throttle, which is now, so I'm off the throttle, and then I'm on the throttle here. I'm on the throttle now for the next sort of 50 seconds. So the earlier you can start that, the more benefit that's going to show you as you're making your way around. Okay, so we're on the throttle. We've got to hold it. So you don't need to lift here. You want to cut that corner as much as possible. So as you can see, I mean, every now and again, I do touch the grass there. But you're wanting to get over on the rumble strips and really hold this line round to the right, making sure that you can cut across again. And now what you're looking to do is you're trying to move the steering wheel the least amount for the next sort of 30-40 seconds. So you're wanting to straighten everything out, because every time you turn the steering wheel, basically you're adding an additional force that our very small engine has to try and overcome. So keep the steering wheel as straight as possible. You can go over these rumble strips. Don't listen to people say that they slow you down. They're talking bollocks. This bit's nice and easy, although if you're in a race, you'll probably have someone trying to get on the inside, outside of you, someone bouncing you from behind. It's great fun. Okay, and allow yourself to come out there. So on this last turn, so obviously it's flat out throughout the whole of this, but on this last turn, you can cut that a little bit here, just on the rumble strips. Try not to overcompensate and bring yourself over left too quickly. Just let the car move out just on itself, because, as I say, any braking force is not needed. Right, so here we're coming up to turn 12. So this is a tricky turn. So there's two apexes. So what I do is the same in the South Course video. As we get up to the one, I'm braking to about 40%, and then what I'm tend to do throughout this first part of the turn is I'm balancing the car between the throttle and the brake down to third gear, and then what I'm looking to do is turn in and get a nice early throttle going on here. So I turned slightly early, and I had to come back off the throttle to make sure that I could make it, cutting this corner, and then I'm on the throttle here fully. So ideally, I'd have turned slightly later, and then I'd have been able to stay on the throttle. But this was still my fastest lap, and this was still the fastest sector that I did through that lap. So it's not fatal to do what I've done by any stretch, but it does show why I believe there'll be a 219 out there, because someone will put in the perfect lap where they haven't got any little errors. So anyway, you'll need to get on the throttle and cut this corner, get on the throttle as early as possible, and then you're back on there. Now this is going to be a great overtaking zone. Don't overtake into something where you're going to get yourself killed, because there's that back straight that we've just seen now, and there's this straight where you can just sidle up alongside behind someone, go past them. You can completely make the pass happen before the corner. You don't want to be putting yourself in a position where you can kill yourself or the other car. There's no need. That's why I like this track. Right. This is the tricky roller coaster section, 14, 14A, and 15. So it's a blind braking zone here. So just as I'm coming up, if you see this darker patch just ahead of me here, as I'm coming up, what I'm doing is I'm braking to about 60%, and then I'm trailing it off. Now, you'll see what happens here is, as I get on the throttle, up here. So I start getting on the throttle, see, up to sort of 50%. I feel my car going. I have to jump back off the throttle to make sure that I'm turning the corner. And then I'm late on the throttle here. So I lost a tenth through this corner against my delta. But as I say, the overall lap time was still my fastest. But ideally what you'd be looking to do is trail that slightly better than I have, and then hold off. Don't go on the throttle too early. Hold off, and then gradually build up the pressure so that you can get back on the throttle to about 100% where I am now, as opposed to I do it, I don't know, about 10 meters later, which, as I say, took off nearly a tenth. Holding it through from third up to fourth, you want to be right over on the right-hand side here. Try not to touch the grass, but you can absolutely use the yellow and green rumble strips. So we're up to fourth gear, and then we're wanting to go over to the left-hand side. We want to cut this and take a little bit of grass, and then we want to come fully off the throttle, and then we want to be back on the throttle and cutting over on the right-hand side here. So again, this is a non-braking zone. You will see in the races, lots of people brake hard. Lots of people will spin off here. They're doing absolutely every type of car when they're racing at VIR. So you're off the throttle, and then you're back on. So it's just a big lift, and then you hold it. You want to cut it round to the right-hand side as much as possible. I've missed the apex there by about 2 feet, which is why I lost a tenth in this sector as well. So as I say, I lost 2 tenths in the last 2 sectors, but it wasn't the end of the world. Holding it on the inside as best as possible. This is another really good overtaking zone. So there's 3 of them, 3 really long straights. And we cross the line in a 220.224. Okay, so now for the chase cam. See on the trace input there, nice trail braking down. I had to just slightly increase the pressure slightly. That's what you're wanting to look for in your trail braking. You're wanting it to be almost like a right angle triangle. Nice steep pressure coming up and then trailing it off nicely. As always, if you're happy to like and subscribe, it helps me have the motivation to keep on making these videos. I do appreciate the comments. Thank you guys that comment. Let me know how you're getting on. No one ever lets me know what times they're putting in. So honestly, put in there, tell me your best time that you get this week. One thing I will make note of is I do sort of 10 to a dozen laps on a Sunday before the week starts. I do it as a bit of practice for me and obviously so that I can record these guides for you guys. The times do get faster during the week, so this is what I'll be looking to try and qualify with on Monday night in the US, my Tuesday morning. And I generally only race the V's for the first couple of days of the week, but I always have a look, and it's competitive at the start of the week, and obviously people are going to improve and speed up as the week goes on, but if you're anywhere near this at the start of the week, you will be competitive. Over the line, and finally, welcome you back in just a second from the cockpit again. I've been Sambo iRacing. Thanks for watching.